Hey, my name's Fraser and welcome to episode 7 of my Photon Smasher adventure. On the 8th of Feb, I'm going to be playing Colchester Arts Centre with my brand new ensemble, featuring the brilliant Sam Hollis on bass and the incredible Ben Hunt on drums. Back in November, we had an R&D day at Colchester Arts Centre to explore using the venue's lighting rig as an instrument. So I've gone from using pretty tiny bicycle lights through to using a humongous lighting rig that fills the room, and it was an incredible experience. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through what happened on that day and give you a little teaser of what's going to come on the 8th of Feb. After we got ourselves all set up, the first thing to do was turn some lights on and see what they sound like. We went into this day not really knowing what the lighting rig was going to quote unquote sound like when heard through the Photon Smasher, so it was a bit of a risk. So the first thing was trying the different settings on the lights and seeing how they changed the sound. In this first patch, what we did was position the lights so they were focusing on the table and hitting the Photon Smasher, and then looking at changing the colour and seeing how that affected the timbre, but then also seeing if we could create a rhythm by doing that in time, which gave the band something to play along with. What's really cool at this point is that the band have now got a visual metronome to play along with, so they're no longer just relying on the foldback monitoring to hear what they're doing. They can physically see the metronome that we're all going to be playing along to, which was a benefit that I hadn't really considered, but turned out to be pretty useful. What we're doing here is giving another role to the light. Its role is no longer to make sure that you can see the performer or to add visual excitement, but it's creating sound. What we've got to be careful of though is that that isn't at the detriment of the other roles of the light. We need to make sure that we can still see the ensemble, and that's something we were playing around with. How can we make sure that you can still see the rest of the band without it having an effect on the sound that the Photon Smasher is picking up as well? Something that's been in the back of my mind is how I communicate to the audience what's going on without it turning into a science lesson. And the smoke machine did that in a fascinating way, because now the sound is taking up physical space. What before was a small bicycle light or a hot tub light that I was positioning on a table is now a physical big shaft of light with a beautiful colour that's taking up massive space and filling the room with sound as well as with light. It makes the performance incredibly dynamic, and it creates this beautiful synchronization between light and sound that you can see from no matter where you are in the audience. You don't have to worry about being able to see the table that I'm using to see the lights that I'm holding, because you can just see this huge column of light. It was really, really powerful. It like blew my mind when I looked back at the footage. It was pretty mad being inside it, because all we could see was just these bright flashes of color in front of our eyes. But when I look back at the footage, I was pretty blown away by what I saw, and that feels like something really exciting there that I'm going to keep exploring further, because if I have more time to explore this, then, you know, there's some pretty exciting performance possibilities going on here that I'm really, really keen to explore further. As well as finding stuff that did work, we also discovered some stuff that didn't work, and that's really important too. In this little improvised sketch here, you can see there's a strobe light creating sound, but then also we've got a little chase of LEDs at the front going up and down. So you've got light that is creating sound, but then light also reacting to sound. Now, that second part I don't think works particularly well. It's giving the audience mixed messages. You're being told that light is creating sound, but then on the other hand, you've got light flashing at a tempo that doesn't actually relate to the music. So whilst it might look really cool, it starts to mix metaphors. Now obviously this was like an afternoon of R&D, so we were trying stuff out, and it's really good that we found stuff that didn't work, because then it gives more direction going forwards as I continue these experiments myself. And I think the things I'm going to look at in the future is like MIDI to DMX. so I can introduce, say, a laptop and start to think about controlling the lighting rig musically. If I was to have my own lighting rig or assortment of lights that I could dot around the stage and position however I want, then the venue rig just becomes the way of seeing the ensemble rather than actually being part of the soundtrack of the performance. That feels like there's potential there, and I think that's what I'm going to explore further in the future. Of course, it wasn't just me there on the day. I was also joined by Ben and Sam, and here's what they had to say about working with light to create sound.
My name is Samuel Hollis and I play the bass. I'm a musician.
I am Ben Hunt and I play the drums.
You know, we've been playing in a rehearsal studio, touching bass, kind of trying some ideas out, but this is the first time that we've put the music in a space and had sort of like an ambience to, you know, press against. Most of what we've been doing today, and that's the thing I really love about the project, is that a lot of it is setting up great sort of, you know, varied canvases for improvised, you know, it's improvisational at core, which is why I think it kind of, how we can all relate to it.
It's very easy to fit into it. So it's kind of like starting from nothing and there's set like a nice kind of soundscape and just explore that, try different ideas and see what happens from there. So I love it because there's a lot of freedom to just play and see what happens with it, really.
Yeah, so much of what Fraser's doing is it's like absurdly fertile ground for ideas, you know, it's like things are popping up everywhere, which is cool. You know, it's almost like you're playing the room at the same time. And being able to see that, I think a lot of what this project is about is the kind of relationship between the visual and the kind of the sort of the, you know, the audio realm. But being able to see on the stage the lighting and having the haze actually make the space kind of like a tactile thing as well, and hearing the music in a larger space
It really
as well.
creates a mood.
Yes.
Yeah. I think an important part is getting to know each other's minds almost. So where each person will probably go. So we're getting to know each other improvisationally. So then once we know that, we can start dialoguing a lot more.
Starting to see what parts of that are coming out of today, whether it's a certain idea or an approach or a score or whatnot, what parts are repeatable as sort of starting points, jumping off points.
Yeah.
Go looking for those, I think.
So if you want to see this in the flesh yourself, you can on the 8th of Feb at Colchester Arts Centre. I'm going to be joined by the amazing Lula York and Una Lee in their new ensemble, Ulan, so I'll put a link to their work down below. I'm going to leave you with a little trailer I've made to advertise the gig, so link down below to get your tickets and I hope to see you there. Thanks very much and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!